Welcome. I'm Harmony Slater, your host of the Finding Harmony podcast. Over the past 20 years, I've taught thousands of yoga teachers and students to explore the intersection between ancient wisdom and modern everyday life, using mind-body practices to heal, awaken, and manifest their dreams from the inside out. This podcast is a sanctuary for those feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges. Are you ready to jump in and discover how these challenges aren't actually in the way, but are the way to finding harmony? Let's invite the magic back in. Okay, hang on. We got a wild, wild ride for you this week. We are connecting with an old friend of Russell's, Shane Scaglione. And it is a thrill of beat poetry, name throwing, drugs, and rock and roll, and famous people, yoga, philosophy, karate. It's all over. And you're going to hear about Shane's beautiful books that he's created that are full of his own writing and musings and beat poetry. And you can find out everything about him on his website, 8-Limbed Yoga. You can find the link in our show notes. This is super fun, super entertaining. I hope you enjoy it and love it and just soak in the good vibes. So, a little summer special before we head on into the autumn. Hi, welcome to the Finding Harmony podcast. Hi, Russell.
I'm so sorry I'm late. I was doing research on our guest, and I got bogged down, and I couldn't pull myself away from the research. We have an old friend of mine from Mysore, Shane Scaglione. Though I would have pronounced that Scaglione, and probably on Instagram, that's how you're best known, as Shane Scaglione.
Scaglione.
He's here to promote his new book. It's titled Yogin. And he's authored Ninja Angel Pilgrim. And that's such a lovely name that you've made for yourself.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Russell.
You're welcome.
But no, really, you've written 3 books now?
3 books now, yeah.
Okay, what are all of the books titled?
They're called Away in India, Volume 1, Away in India, Volume 2, Away in India, Volume 3.
Okay. Did you write them all while you were away in India?
I did, and I graduated from the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics. It really exists at Naropa University in Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah, I had an ex-wife who got into that school. It was very exciting. And actually, holy shit, you know what? I've never told this story.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you did go to the Jack Kerouac School. Allen Ginsberg was a close friend of my mom's first husband, Cy Fruchter. Simon Fruchter was a record promoter. He only had one arm, and he was an awful heroin addict. But he was a fantastic rock promoter out of Chicago. And when Allen Ginsberg and Ken Kesey first made their trip in '68 out to Colorado Springs in their Magic Bus, stopped in Chicago to see my brother's father.
Okay.
And Cy, and he had this little shiksa wife, my mom, who's like a little blonde, angel-headed priestess. She had just given birth to my brother and had a very exciting time. And Allen Ginsberg, what do you call that when you
bounce the baby?
That's not safe.
That's what they say.
You shouldn't bounce a baby. He would rock the baby on his
bounce the baby on the knee.
You should never, ever bounce a baby. Have you heard that, Shane? That you should never bounce a baby?
Yeah, it's like you got to do a himsa first, right? Before that little.
You do a himsa first, certainly before having a baby.
Yamas first. Right?
And so, Allen Ginsberg rocked my brother on his knee.
What? Bounced.
It's not safe. And so you went to the same school. Then he drove out to Colorado Springs with Ken Kesey, who stank, by the way. My mother, he wore no shoes, was filthy, sat on her couch and was disgusting. And she was like, I'm never having that man in my house again. He was absolutely filthy.
Okay. Wow.
But for the beat poets, it's like you're either square, and nobody wants to be square, or you're hip.
That's it.
And in that age, being hip, is really cool.
Yeah.
It's anything goes when you're hip.
That's it.
Right? And is that what your experience in India has been? Is like anything goes?
Sort of. I was kind of living in India like $1 a day for some times. And I kind of, I've written 3 books on it. I kind of went all over the subcontinent, mainly by bus and train, and stopping off in Mysore to meet you, which you really inspired me.
That was cool. Yeah.
And I remember meeting me and my father. My father came out for my birthday.
I remember meeting your father then. Yes, that was awesome.
Like me, you, Sally Evans, your previous wife, and then
she was Welsh.
Noah Williams and Kimberly Williams.
Yeah, the 6 of us. Yeah, Noah and Kimberly. Kiki Flynn, as they know on IG. Yeah.
That was pretty incredible.
Your dad was really cool, man. He came out to India with you. And it struck me that your dad, and the impression that I had of him was that he was like this Brooklyn cat with like a storied, historic relationship to karate.
Yes, exactly.
And was like maybe like an actual beat poet himself, like part of the scene.
Yes, he was undercover heroin as a cop in New York from 61 to 81, uniformed in the Marcy Projects, where Jay-Z is from. They worked during the same time. And also, he worked on Dog Day Afternoon, and he knew Serpico.
He worked on that film?
No, he actually was as a cop during when that was going down. So he actually remembered.
Oh, he worked on the actual case.
Exactly.
He worked on the Serpico case.
Yes, and he knew.
Holy shit! He wasn't in the movie. He was in the thing.
Yeah. Well,
whoa!
He was an undercover cop.
He knew Serpico. He didn't like Serpico. He said he was kind of an asshole because like they'd be out in like Harlem or wherever risking their lives, and they'd be paging Serpico, and Serpico's like, "I don't hear you. You're cutting out. I don't hear you." And he was like, "Whatever." And apparently he was like just as corrupt as the corrupt cops.
Well, Al Pacino played him very shouty.
Well, my father loves Al Pacino though. So he loves the film, but he said actual Serpico wasn't really that.
Your father resembles Al Pacino a great deal. You're both Sicilian, as I understand.
Sicilian Italian.
Sicilian. I'm not sure I've heard that before. Like you could say that I'm Illinois American, but I've never heard Sicilian Italian before. Do you think Sicily is that far removed from Italy as an experience?
My grandmother was an immigrant in Brooklyn. She was from Messina, Sicily, kind of northern Sicily.
Yeah.
And then my grandfather, my father's father, was from Calabria, Italy. And then nuts. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So your father, growing up Brooklyn, Sicilian Italian, that's 3 whole identities right there.
Yes.
Decided to take on this kind of Japanese karate thing.
So he was a cop in 61 to 81, and being a cop in New York was like very intense. He was kind of risking his life every day, and he survived like the 60s and the Black Panthers and the punks and the hippies and all of that. Kind of seen it all.
Yeah.
And basically, his teacher came from Okinawa, Master Yushiro, and he actually caught a grenade. The Japanese invaded Okinawa during World War II, and Master Yushiro caught the grenade and threw it, and some of his grenade exploded. He saved his family, but he lost some parts of his fingers. He had some scar tissue, and he became a master of the bow staff, Rakusoku bow staff, which is 6 foot tall bow.
Right.
He would move it so fast that you couldn't film him, and he would actually shatter some bow staff because it was such force. So when he came to New York, he was like the top student. He was in the National Geographic, and he was more ripped than Bruce Lee. Like we have a picture.
Oh yes.
Basically, he was the top student.
Karate guy from Japan, not your dad.
No,
but the teacher.
Yeah. Okinawa.
Yeah, the Okinawan.
Yes, they were the Japanese invaded, took their language, and then the Okinawans came in and taught the royal family in Japan, similar to Raja Yoga.
Oh, it's a colonial story. I understand.
Yeah, it's kind of
like with Taiwan,
like with everywhere around the world.
Well, people have colonized everywhere around the world.
Yes, well, but anyway, so my father became like a karate student because he was risking his life every day. Like,
now, wait a second. Now, let's just hold you right there. Your father's an undercover policeman, and then says, "I'm stressed. I'm going to do karate." That's not something that anybody just does. There's a reason for that. Like, how do you make that step?
Well, he got into yoga because his uncle was into yoga in the 50s. I don't know who was into yoga then. Maybe it's like Yogananda.
There's like 8 people.
Maybe Vivekananda is yoga.
Vivekananda. There's something. I don't know. My father's learning like
Paramahansa Yogananda.
Paramahansa Yogananda.
And then he got into martial arts. Anyway, he became the right-hand man of Master Yushiro, who I knew when I was young. He was incredible, kind of like a magician with the bow staff and this. And
yeah, you mentioned, yeah. But just like that slide from yoga into karate, like, was he in the Greenwich Village? Like, was the scene that hip that it was just like crazy things were going down?
Oh, it's crazy. My dad has a tattoo of a Medusa on his torso. He has like tattoos all over. He's like covered in tattoos before tattoos were like hip and trendy.
Right. Yeah. Back when they were just hip and not hip and trendy. Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, let's talk about Shane's.
This is Shane's story. Shane's dad is very important to him. I met Shane's dad. This is an intrinsic part of his story, Harmony.
So I'm curious, though, with this study of beat poetry, how on earth did this come about?
So basically, long story short, I was into basketball. So I was a New Yorker, right? I was a New Yorker. I grew up with karate. I was hanging out with Mike Tyson because one of my dad's karate students was the boxing promoter Mike Tyson. My dad was ringside at all the multi-million-dollar Mike Tyson fights. And my dad was hanging out
with hair guy?
Mike Tyson.
No, the big hair is...
No, that's Don King.
The previous, Don King. This is previous to Don King.
Don King wasn't cool. Don King and Robin Givens was the downfall of Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
But this is before.
The hair is pretty amazing. So before Don King, that
was Steve Lott. Okay. Steve Lott was the boxing promoter.
And he was a friend of your dad's, and so you were hanging out
with my father's.
Jiminy crickets. And then you were just hanging out with Mike Tyson at the gym, or like rubbing elbows, sitting on his knee.
Like when Mike Tyson, just before he became the boxing champion of the world, and I was playing with all these weapons, all these nunchucks. I was 7 years old, knives. I hung out with him for several hours that day, whatever. And Mike Tyson was like, "Whoa, what is this kid with all these karate weapons?" But they're toys.
Yeah. Sure.
So then what happened? So you're hanging out with Mike Tyson. How did this turn into beat poetry?
Okay. So basically, yeah. So I was into karate. I started karate at age 5. I took my first steps in a karate school in Manhattan, Midtown Manhattan. Was born there this lifetime. And so, yeah, but when I started doing karate at age 5, I started teaching karate at 13. So we eventually moved to Long Island from Manhattan when I was 3. And then from when I was 8.5, we moved to Florida. And I didn't want to move to Florida. And we moved to right near Cocoa Beach, near Kelly
You're
Slater.
A New Yorker. You should move to Florida. That's what they do.
A lot of them did. A lot of them.
Yeah, not. You don't want to not do that.
My dad's mom was a seamstress, the Sicilian grandmother, making dresses in Manhattan. She lived in Brooklyn, whatever. And she retired to, a lot of people retired to Florida. It's so close.
Right.
Especially New Yorkers, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, so basically we moved to Florida, and so I played basketball. You're a product of the 90s, Russell, right?
I am a product of the 90s, especially 1990 when Michael Jordan won the NBA championship against the Portland Trail Blazers.
That's right.
That's when my basketball journey began. Okay. It was the shrug game.
Oh, okay. I remember that.
Sure, of course you do. Shrug. He was
you played football, Russell, right? As I remember?
I played football in high school and middle school. I started as linebacker.
What?
Played a little defensive end.
Linebacker?
But then defensive end was a little small for defensive end. Then when I got to high school, the little skinny white boy, they said you shouldn't be playing defense at all. They put me as a wide receiver, and I was quick. I was quite quick.
Fast, huh?
And I actually, if I could hold something, I could dunk it.
What?
So if I could, I could.
No way.
I could
dunk Russell.
Sure, if I could hold it, I could dunk it. I could hold a milk carton, or I could hold a tennis ball, or I could hold a soccer ball. I could palm a soccer ball, but I couldn't palm a basketball. So basketball was really hard.
Oh.
But anything else I could dunk because I was quite jump. So it was quick because I played wide receiver, and then I dislocated my pelvis.
What? Ooh, that's
no. I'm sorry. Someone dislocated my pelvis.
Oh,
I didn't do it. Someone else did.
Oh, that's painful.
It's one of my favorite jokes. You always laugh at that.
Our listeners have heard this.
No, they haven't.
That's painful, Russell. That pains me. That pains me.
No, it does. So when I started doing yoga, that came up right away. It's my yoga teacher, Sudha from Chicago, you may know,
Yes, I heard about this.
Yeah. He said to me,
Yes.
"Did you dislocate your pelvis or something?"
What?
He said it just like that because I was so jacked up.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but you have a basketball streak. I loved basketball.
Basically, I played basketball sophomore and junior year of high school, and I went to the Bob Hurley basketball camp at Portsmouth,
Bobby Hurley?
Island. And I think you had Shaktipat. You know what Shaktipat is? Do you know what Shaktipat is?
Yeah.
Well, sure, you get Shakti pods from people all the time.
Yeah, so basically, check it. I was in, my first job was in New York City, 95, right? My dad's karate student had a television production studio, right? And basically, I was like a gopher there. I was living 19th and 5th in the heart of Midtown,
Yeah.
you know, like in 1995, right? I was 15 years old. So I had my first job, like making drinks, like cleaning toilets, whatever, in this television production company, right? And then I was into hoop, I was into basketball. So I went up to Harlem and I met the GOAT. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar called him the best player never to have gone pro. He did double dunk. He would dunk with one hand and dunk with a second hand. And he would grab quarters from the top of the backboard. So basically, the GOAT ruined his career with heroin, with mainlining.
What was the GOAT's name? Do you remember the GOAT's?
Earl the GOAT Manigault. They made a film of him, a good film.
Yeah,
but I met the actual GOAT in person, right?
Yeah.
So I was up there in Harlem, and he started the GOAT walk away from drug basketball league. So his walk away from drugs was doing something positive, doing basketball, doing sports.
Right.
Bobito the barber was there. So basically, yeah, it was kind of like people breakdancing, people doing graffiti, like drug dealers. It's kind of like a crazy scene up in this, you know. But I like hung out with him, and he had open heart surgery
on the court.
No, but he had open heart, like here, like this.
Yeah.
Oh, on the chest. Yeah.
On the chest, and he had scars. He took off his shirt and he gave it to me just before I did this basketball camp. And yeah, and then some people were like, never take off that shirt. And it was like, had his sweat on it. It was whatever. So then I went to the Bob Hurley basketball camp. And Bob Hurley, I don't know if you know, he's the only basketball coach that's in the Basketball Hall of Fame, NBA Basketball Hall of Fame. So this was, I was 15 years old.
His son was an excellent basketball player who had a motorcycle accident.
The son, Bobby Hurley, was in Duke, the all-time leader of assists.
Yeah.
He went to Sacramento, and you're right, he did an accident. He fell asleep on the road driving.
Yeah.
In the Sacramento Kings. He was drafted number 7. This was after the accident. I was with the son, and his basketball skills are still amazing. He had a few more years, and then Danny Hurley was for Seton Hall. Did not have a good as career as his brother.
Right, but he's not the coach for UConn.
He is. He won 2 years in a row. He's going to win maybe number 3, and no one has done that since John Wooden.
Bill Murray's son is his assistant coach.
Who's this Bill Murray? I don't know this.
Bill Murray is a comedian from Ghostbusters and other kind of comedy films from the 80s.
What do you mention Bill Murray for?
Because his son is an assistant coach for Danny Hurley at UConn.
Get out of here. Okay, now we're going to connect the dots. Listen, here's Buddhism in 4 sentences.
Okay, do it.
Here's Buddhism's in 4 sentences. Here's some Dharma talk. So we got the Harmony podcast, the Russell podcast going on with the 2 dogs and beautiful paintings that Russell produced because he's a master painter. Okay, so here we go. Buddhism in 4 sentences. Everything is connected. Everything is changing. Be present. Be happy. Boom.
I love it.
So now we have everything is connected. Everything is connected. My dad's karate students, Chris Barnes, came out of Chicago Second City, where you went to.
Yeah.
Kevin Beckingham. So you went to Chicago Art Institute, and Yoko Ono gave the address with the puzzle piece. Remember that story. You lost the puzzle piece before the commencement was over.
Yeah. I lost the puzzle piece before the commencement was even over. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, Chris Barnes was a karate student of my parents, like since, I don't know, when I was like 2 years old in New York, Manhattan. And he basically came out of Chicago Second City from Scranton. I just was in Pennsylvania with Megan Marshall, thanks to the Harmony podcast show. I got turned on to
Megan Marshall's awesome. Super funny. Megan
is awesome. I had such a great time there in Philly. Her song was amazing. Happy 3 years, Megan. She's
happy
incredible.
3 years, Megan.
Yes. And basically in Chicago, that's where Chris Barnes, my parents' karate students, were, right?
Yeah.
And Chris Barnes was with Bill Murray there doing improv, Chicago Second City improv.
Oh,
All of
yeah,
this.
that's right.
And Chris Barnes is an actor, and his wife started Coyote Ugly. Have you heard of Coyote Ugly where they dance?
Sure, yeah, the bar, and the girls in the
so
bar.
then they started another one.
Yeah.
Chris Barnes and his wife, I can't remember her name, but they started another bar called Flaming Saddles, which is a gay country and western club in Hell's Kitchen, New York.
A riff off of Blazing Saddles, I'm sure.
Hell's Kitchen, New York. Okay.
And so Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd helped fund the bar.
Flaming Saddles.
The Flaming Saddles.
Yes,
bar.
exactly.
So
the hope that's not too much insider information, but I'm sure it's
no, it's fantastic insider information.
Okay, but I want to go back to, so you're with the basketball player.
Oh yeah, how did I get turned on to the beats? Okay, so I was into basketball. I was into hoop in high school. Like sophomore and junior year, I was really into basketball, and I was like 5'7", but Bob Hurley, the basketball camp I was, said there's always a spot for a hustler. I was the hustler. Phil Jackson, the coach of the Bulls.
6'8", Phil Jackson. But go ahead. The human coat hanger.
Yes, he was a hustler. And Dennis Rodman was a hustler.
Yeah. The glue guys do all the dirty work. If you can hustle, scratch your knees up, get your elbows dirty, all of it.
Like the green guy.
Like the green guy, Draymond Green, yes. Like the green guy,
Warriors fan.
Draymond Green, the dirty work.
That's
the blue collar lunch pail basketball. Like
that's it. So I had the nickname of Evil in high school because I did such a defensive ruckus. I was guarding someone, and I would swat the ball and just dive and skid my knees and get in it, steal it. I was kind of a hustler.
Okay, so you're hustling at the basketball camp.
It's hard to get into the beats. I read the Basketball Diaries by Jim Carroll. Jim Carroll was in New York, and he was. Have you read that book? Have you read the book?
And then he did a lot of heroin.
He did at age 13. He started heroin at 13. He thought marijuana was
a good basketball player, though.
He was amazing. He got a full scholarship, and he was very handsome too.
Not that heroin improves your performance in any way, all you listeners at home, though we do think it does that for Ashtanga Yoga.
Stay away from heroin.
Only if you stop.
No, but anyway, I met Jim Carroll twice in New York in the 90s. I met him in 98. But anyway, that's how I got into beat writing. I read Basketball Diaries. I read Downtown Diaries. I live in Bolinas, and me and my ex-girlfriend, we just broke up.
Today?
No, I don't want to say again, but I'm kind of going through it.
It's still occurring.
It's raw.
No. We had a good 3 years. We had a great 3 years, and hopefully we got a friendship.
Was she kind of down with the hip beat experience? That kind of ride that you're on?
She was a PhD in religions. And she was more from the Judeo-Christian tradition. I'm more from the Hindu, yogic, Buddhist, martial artist. So we kind of dialogued her, me, mudra, seal. Anjali mudra, the falling, the pot, Anjali, the falling of prayer.
Right. And did your father practice Buddhism as well?
He's Catholic, I would say, but he's Italian, so he's very Catholic, like Patti Smith. Like Jim Carroll.
Like Patti Smith,
Patti Smith and Jim Carroll actually got it on. And you could read Please Kill Me, The Oral History of Punk Rock. And they actually did have, I think, a fling.
What's it called? Horses? Is that her album?
Yes, Horses is a great album. One of the greatest
album. Great album. Yeah, one of the great albums of all time. And who's the great beat gay photographer? What's his name? Mapplethorpe?
Yes.
Close friends with Patti Smith at that time.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So
anyway, so basically, my ex-girlfriend, who, oh, by the way, she got her PhD as a single mom, as a waitress, working working class hero for 19 years, getting her PhD. Only 2% of population.
Song by John Lennon, by the way.
That's crazy.
Working Class Hero by John Lennon, a great song.
That is a great song.
Right? Amazing song. But only 2% of the population get a PhD.
Well, especially as single moms. working
Oh
full
my
time.
goodness.
Waitress.
Did that put some strain on your relationship, you think?
No. Her son is actually 20. She's older than me. I've been one relationship. I was with a woman for 10 years.
Oh.
And in another relationship, another woman I was with 10 years older. 10 years older. I don't know. I might like older women.
So wait, the first relationship lasted 10 years, and the second relationship
So I was with
older.
one. I don't know if I could say their. Can I say their name? Does it matter or no?
Of course, you can say their name.
Depends. I don't know.
His name Marie.
Okay.
Hi Marie. I don't know if she's going to listen.
Hi Marie.
Hi Marie.
And yeah, my ex-girlfriend's Marie. And we had a great 3 years, by the way. I mean, some marriages don't last 3 years.
That's true.
Day and age. And then I was with someone named Mary Lawrence Bevington, whose mom just died. May she rest in peace.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Her mom worked with President Jimmy Carter, and Mary Bev's brother is married to Diane Keaton's sister. True story.
Oh,
yeah.
Were the previous stories were all true though as well, right?
Yeah, everything. But basically, yeah. So Mary Bev is 10 years older. Marie is 16 years older, and then Sarah Noah is 10 years older, and she's from Michigan, from Ann Arbor, Michigan, where Iggy Pop is from, the godfather.
Yeah, I was born in Pontiac,
Michigan.
You were born in Michigan? Get out.
I was born in Pontiac.
Get the mitten.
Right here in the top there, babe. And yeah, my you know Iggy Pop. You must know the Motor City 5.
I MC5. I love MC5.
My dad went to prison with the MC5.
What the fuck? Get out of here.
Yeah. Now,
what?
Dexter Gordon's trumpet player, Red Rodney.
Your father was in prison with the MC5?
Yeah. So Red Rodney was a trumpeter for Dexter Gordon and got caught with his heroin, or actually Dexter handed him his heroin, and he had to go to prison for it. And Dexter was Wayne Kramer and my father's music teacher in Lexington.
Ooh.
Yeah, they studied together. They studied music together at Lexington.
Let's connect the dots. Kevin Bacon game. Everything's connected. So my father in Los Angeles, I was a tech writer for Los Angeles Airport, right? I was security systems on LAX after 9/11.
Nice, stressful job.
Stressful. That's how I got into yoga. I was making paid a lot of money. I was dating models. I was going.
You got that Russell Brand thing going on. I could see you dating models.
Yeah, well, I did. I dated one girl who lived in Van Nuys, where Nevermind was recorded, and I almost got robbed at gunpoint because I had a flashy blue sports car, and someone put a piece up under his shirts and tried to open the door,
under your shirt again.
Yeah, and it was.
But don't mention any of the model names. I think that's important. But go on.
Anyway. LA was a crazy time. That was a crazy time. Yeah. But anyway, so me and my father came out and we saw Wayne Kramer and John Sinclair, who was arrested for pot.
So John Sinclair is a very good friend of my mom's.
What?
My mom ran a Japanese pillow company called Satori out of Ann Arbor. It sounds like Ann Arbor. It sounds like you've heard of this Japanese pillow company.
Yeah.
And so she and her husband at the time, Cy Fruchter, who had the one arm and was a music promoter, they had this Japanese pillow company. Yeah. And they were taking it to a marketplace, and John was sitting in the back with piles and piles of these giant Oriental pillows as big as an easy chair. John would throw the pillows off of the truck, and then he'd jump on them to get everyone's attention. Good friend of my mom's, John Sinclair. But then went to prison for, marijuana. We only had like 2 joints, It was a
Russell, you got a lot of prison and you going on. You got like some prison on your side. I got like the police on my side.
Oh, yeah. My parents,
Wayne Kramer, MC5 going on.
My parents did federal time. Yeah.
Wow, we got all sorts of stuff going on in this podcast now.
Back to the
so Bolinas, check it. So Bolinas, right? Bolinas is where Downtown Diaries, where Jim Carroll got sober from heroin. So me and me and Marie would always go to Bolinas. We were together almost 3 years. One summer we went every weekend. Bolinas is awesome. It's like really hippie. It's like they steal the signs there so people can't find it,
Right.
It's still a cool place, right? So basically, so I got into I found out Jim Carroll in Downtown Diaries was connected to Allen Ginsberg. So then I read Powell. And then I got turned on at Kerouac. And then I was getting all turned on, you see. And then I lived a year on my own in New York City from 98 to 99, got a one-way ticket, working construction. I was working at New York Post, CBS, Goodwill Games. I was working 16-hour shifts, check it. 8 in the morning till 4 to midnight, midnight to 8 a.m. I'd work all 3 shifts sometimes. I'd do like doubles.
This is after your sports car period.
After my sports in high school, but I was still into hoop. I still played during that period. I taught karate.
Before your sports car model experience?
No. I was basketball. I wasn't a model.
Okay.
I was a model. I was a yoga model, and when I was on the circuit in Boulder.
Well, I meant when you were dating models in LA. Huh? That came much later. When you were dating models, that became much later. So
that wasn't happy for me because LA. That LA period really got me. I had all this money. I had all these gold diggers. I was 23 years old. I didn't date much at the Kerouac school when I was younger, because I was just more interested in writing. I had a nickname of Scribbles, right? Because
Scribbles,
I had these notebooks. This notebook right here. I was still scribbling.
Notes.
I love those
ones. Those are wonderful.
Look at all these
I got all these scribbling. Notes. All these notes.
What do you take notes on?
Well, all these ideas.
My 3 books in India, right? Away in India, volume 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
Basically, how I experienced them was I was in Mysore. I was, in traveling here and there, going way off the beaten path so off the beaten path that I would see someone from like Japan. And I think, another foreigner, because I was only seeing Indians, right? I was in I was in like Calcutta and Bhubaneswar and going into like I don't know, all sorts of like Ahmedabad, Dwarka. Dwarka is like way like in Dwarka, right? In Dwarka in India, I saw like a naked sadhu like walking around completely naked, right?
Right, yeah.
And then if you were in the Castro in San Francisco, I mean, people walk around naked there. It's like no problem.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. But if you're in like Philadelphia, where I was, a little more maybe conservative.
Oh, it's a little bit more conservative in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Yeah, more like. But if you walk around naked there, they'll probably arrest you. Probably.
Sure. Yeah. In San Francisco, you wouldn't be likely to like take darshan from the naked man, though.
No,
you wouldn't do that.
In India, it's different. It's more.
I mean, also, if you were just like a regular guy in India walking around naked, they'd also probably arrest you.
Wait a second. Shane is no regular guy. Let's be honest. So we're in a kind of a Bardo period for you. You're in New York.
Yeah, I'm starting jumping all the way around, like here and there. I'm in New York. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm in India.
We are trying to keep a linear path.
Yes, get me dialed in. I have like these like diamonds of creativity. Like I actually have bipolar, and I actually was hospitalized.
You were diagnosed bipolar?
Yes, I was hospitalized, but I'm in good company because Van Gogh. Actually, Mike Tyson has it.
Very good company. My Aunt Robin, very good.
Robin?
Yeah, Aunt Robin is a bipolar. Yeah, probably listens to the show.
What is her creativity, your Aunt Robin?
Well, she is a truck driver. Her 3 sons were very highly religious in spite of her, probably purposely. And she felt abandoned because they decided to move out of her home for drug use. And she decided to become a truck driver. And she started driving all around the country as a trucker. And she was the only female trucker that I had ever heard of.
I've never. Well, I know a couple that.
I know that couples. Yeah, couples.
Couples, but not a woman. That's pretty badass.
Yeah. But bipolar, and that's that's the key.
So just to summarize here, we've grown up in New York. We moved to Florida. We went to basketball camp. We started reading beat poetry and books, and then from there you said. You went back to New York.
Yeah.
And then
went out to LA and got a real job.
No, but didn't you do the beat poetry at the Jack Kerouac school?
No, it's basically how my whole life turned around. Like, check it. My brother was just here. He was Special Forces Air Force. Check it.
Yeah.
Like, his wife is from Chicago. My brother, like, badass because he I don't know. I think it's a Chicago thing. He was living in Chicago. Negative 40 degrees. Negative 40. And he's like,
I know.
4 seasons, never complain. Negative 40 degrees, huh?
I wouldn't complain about it.
-40 Fahrenheit. You don't complain, Russell?
Yeah.
We live in Canada, dude. We're very familiar with -40.
I remember days.
What is minus Fahrenheit there? I don't know this whole Celsius.
No, it's the same. I remember days in Chicago that were -70 in January.
But the thing is the incredible thing about Fahrenheit and Celsius, and you won't know this because you're American, is when it gets cold enough, they actually meet.
-40 Celsius is also -40 Fahrenheit.
Does it get -40 in Canada where you are?
Look, it's actually more north than Chicago in Canada.
So it gets more colder than that.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So, so I just for the listeners at home. So I want you to imagine
Russell doing 7 series in the cold snow. Wow.
Right? Exactly. So you kind of imagine like a funnel shape. At the bottom of the funnel is Mexico. Then in the middle of the funnel, that's the United States. And I want you to imagine north of that, the top of the funnel, that's Canada.
God.
And it gets progressively colder as you go to the north of Canada. Yes.
I'm Salvador Dali.
You are.
Okay. So back...
you got it. You got a handle on his life story.
No, you don't know my life story. You gotta buy my books. Check out my books.
Yeah, we gotta get the books.
You have 3 books, and then you have this new book, Yogin, by Ninja Angel.
No, it's no book. The 4th book is on simple living in modern times. That's coming soon.
Oh, that sounds good. Okay, but so then you end up at the Jack Kerouac School. Yeah. How did you get into yoga?
How I got into yoga was in 1998. I was in New York City working construction as a laborer in a posh hotel. So I was working for like a 5-star hotel, Manhattan East Suites, when I was 19 years old, and people from all over the world. 19 years old. And basically, there was a woman, she was from Africa, and she had cerebral palsy. So this is a part of her face, I think, is that like kind of scrunched up? But she would wear a dress.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
She would take a hammer and she would destroy the door, because we were in construction. We were redoing a whole floor. We're working on teams, construction, painters from all over the world. But this woman, her name was Miss Mary, and she would take that hammer and just like break it down. And everyone was afraid.
Precisely?
She was badass.
Oh,
everyone.
Would she break things erratically or precisely?
Precisely. She was precision.
Oh,
she was
nice.
like a razor blade. She would just
cool. Like a Zen master.
Yes, she was. And one time I was carrying all these like heavy 2x4s. And I asked this guy from Spain, "Can you help me carry him?" And she's like, "No, you carry it alone."
You have to walk alone.
And was she working with you on your crew?
She was like the head person. She was kind of the head person, like telling everyone what to do, you see.
Okay.
She came from Africa with nothing, and she like made something from her in New York.
Wow. Came from Africa with nothing and a hammer and made something out of nothing.
That's it, with a dress. She was wearing a dress and just taking down doors.
With a hammer.
Wow.
And that's how you learned yoga.
No. So basically, I was working construction there. I was working construction there, right? And I was also in New York City, and I was teaching karate. I was like 19, and I was living with this St. Francis nun, right, in the Upper West Side, 98th in Amsterdam, right? And I was living in this room, and she would like sleep on a couch, and she was badass. Like she would go to like Newark, work with the homeless, just giving out stuff, you know? She was amazing. Yola.
You learned yoga from her.
No, but here's the thing.
Sorry.
I got into yoga with Shivananda because I was in the basketball and I was teaching karate. I was teaching martial arts as a 19-year-old because I've been doing karate since I'm 5. I started teaching at 13, right? So I'm just like, I read this article of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a student. He was a student of Ashtanga Yoga.
No.
Yes.
No, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a student of Bikram. Was he?
No.
So he was also a student of Bruce Lee.
Yeah, I have a picture of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
No, you got the inside scoop.
I have a picture of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with Patabi Joyce.
Yeah, but okay, so I did explain something to you.
Yes, the two of them, he taught him yoga.
Yeah, like one day.
Yo, Chuck and Maddie.
Sure.
Yo, Richard Freeman. Yo.
Yeah.
Chuck and Maddie was adjusting. Maddie was like short, right? Maddie was short.
Yeah, very short.
And she was adjusting Kareem once.
Yeah, Kareem's very, very flexible, though.
Okay, so you're reading this book, and how did that get you into Shivananda yoga?
Okay, because I read that Kareem had a 20-year career in the NBA, all-time leading scorer. And I was like, I want to help my game. I want to help my jump shot. And I was already doing martial arts. Kareem did martial arts with Bruce Lee, Jeet Kune Do. I love Bruce
Close
Lee.
friends, yeah.
Yes, and our martial arts system, the Okinawan style, has heavy roots in China and also connected to Japan. So it's a mudra, three-way mudra. It's like Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, or Saraswati, Lakshmi, and Kali.
Like a Maserati.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All connected. Right? So basically, I read I need to get into yoga, so I started doing the Shivananda yoga to begin. Right, and then later I moved to Florida after all the construction people are like, what are you doing here? You're 19 years old, you're 20 years old, you're living, working really hard, like go to college. And my father was living in Cocoa Beach, where the 10-time world surfing champion, Kelly Slater's from, 10-time world surfing.
Slater, yeah.
My cousin.
Your cousin.
No way. You're related to Kelly Slater? No.
Also related to Christian Slater.
Also my cousin.
Also her cousin.
Ooh, okay.
Right? Yeah.
And then Lisa Anderson, 6-time world surfing champion from that same area.
Oh.
And the waves were small. So check it. The waves were small, so you got to be more precise surfing it. Because when the hurricane surfs come, when you get the bigger waves from the hurricanes, then you're more precise on it. You're more like you could get more dialed. But if it's smaller waves throughout the rest of the year, you got to be really good at it. I don't ski, even though I lived like more than like 11 years in Boulder with like Richard Freeman and Naropa and all that. I don't never ski.
It's an elitist sport, isn't it? You know.
I don't know, man. I'm not into it.
Yeah, right. It's not hip.
It's not hip. No. Gabriel Freeman, Richard Freeman and Mary Taylor's son, is a snowboarder, and he's a badass. He can do backflips on his snowboard.
Were you two close friends? You and Gabriel, were you close friends?
Gabriel Freeman?
Yeah.
No. But just on like social media, but I've kind of met him a little bit.
Oh, right. Okay.
But
you knew Richard really well after you got into
I did. So basically, I got into Bikram, and then at Naropa, my first stint at Boulder for 2 years was a Karak school, right? And then I was just really focused into scribbling and doing my poetry, right? And I did a little bit of yoga there, but wasn't really too into it, And then I got into yoga when I was like tech writer in LA. That's like high stress, stakes are high, De La Soul.
Yeah.
Great album, by the way, De La Soul. I don't know if you know hip hop.
Beautiful album.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Probably you were really into the Roots as well.
Ooh, I love the Roots. Oh my God.
Sure,
There's a song with Erykah Badu. I love Erykah Badu. Really got me.
Yeah.
I was just listening to that in Philly.
We just saw the Roots in Calgary just a couple weekends.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Questlove? I love Questlove.
Yeah.
Oh.
Questlove was drumming in the back because he's actually in the Roots.
I know Questlove. I know the Roots, man.
So did you meet them ever?
No, but I met the security guard at the library. I love libraries. I love books. I'm very bookish, like Richard Freeman. Me and my teacher, like student. I was in the central library and I was looking at all these yoga books, all these beat books, all these cool books, right? I think it was like the first library started by Ben Franklin, whatever, right? In Philly, right? And the security guard there knows Questlove, like good. Because Questlove go to the public library there, not to blow up his spot.
Yeah, don't blow up.
Don't blow up his
You don't want a lot of people coming to the library.
No, but I'm sure, I don't know. Questlove is like, just doing his thing. It's a great library, by the way.
I think he probably just orders his book off Amazon now.
Oh, you kind of want to keep a modest, quiet place at the library. You don't want a lot of people rushing around meeting security guards, like just tapping on each one.
Yeah, but we we actually can order your books off Amazon, right?
You can.
Can we?
And on demand is nicer. If I like books, you can turn the page or the Kindle. And I lowered the prices now, so $13.13, because my brother was born on the 13th, and so is his wife, 13th of January, 13th of July, and also 13 and 13 added up, and you get 26. I'm born on the January 26th, India's Republic Day.
India's Republic Day.
So I'm really having a connection with India over 3 years there.
That is a nice connection to India.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Want to hear some about the books? No, let me talk about Richard Freeman. So I'm out in LA. So at first, I was in Eugene, Oregon, where Ken Kesey's from, right? And I was
talked about Ken Kesey earlier. He doesn't smell.
Okay,
great.
So I was trying to get away from Eugene. We love Eugene, by the way. I love Eugene. Okay, Eugene is awesome. So I went from Eugene to LA, and my dad's friend of Bill Murray is an acting coach. So he had the comedy dojo, teaching comedy And he was also had a karate dojo there. And he had a gig on the Martin Short show in a sitcom. And he had gigs like working on Saturday Night Live.
The Martin Short show.
Yes, Chris Barnes.
Oh, from Canada. Martin Short from Canada.
Yes,
he is
yes,
the Knight of
Canadian.
Canada.
There you go, connecting.
Yeah, that's Canadian connection.
Yes, connection. Yes, and I love Leonard Cohen. By the way, that's a whole other story.
It's a whole nother story. But we'll
save that one for part
Leonard
two.
Cohen. And so Richard must have come to the studio.
No. So what happened was no. So I'm out in LA. So first I move out to LA with a bicycle, literally a bicycle. Check it. And I'm staying in the karate dojo with the fridge, and I'm riding a bicycle to Venice. And I'm using Gold's Gym, where one of the karate students was. He's a personal trainer. Chris Barnes was a personal trainer at Gold's Gym in Venice, where Pumping Iron was done with Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know that film?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Okay. So that's where I would shower, because there's no shower at the karate dojo. So it was intense. It's like, what the fuck am I doing here? I should have stayed in Eugene. I loved Eugene. I should have worked for a social worker in a natural food store. Like, what the fuck am I doing in LA? Everything was falling through. I couldn't get a job on the sitcom making coffee or anything. So then finally, my dad's karate students was ahead of a multi-million-dollar project with LAX after 9/11. They were in phase 2, and immediately, boom, I'm hired. So I went from bicycle to new blue sports car, $700 wardrobe from Banana Republic. And I got my own apartment, and I'm dating models and gold diggers. And I'm just
because you had $700. I mean, come on.
Well, yeah, basically, I don't want to say how much I made, but I was making.
Right, yeah.
I was making. Okay. It was very high stress. And my dad's karate student, he was Israeli, and his right-hand man was from Iran. And it was so deep cover that if anything went wrong on the project, they would fly someone in from Texas, where you lived in Austin. I've been to Austin. Austin is great. I love Austin.
Town. Full of undercover agents, by the way.
Well, I don't know about that, but they have good vegan taco.
You can get a great vegan taco.
You can. They're the
but
vegan
tacos do taste better with cheese. But are you vegan though?
Yeah, I'm vegan.
Oh, that's good.
Really?
That's
are you strict vegan, or are you like
vegan,
mostly vegan?
Are you California vegan?
No, I'm vegan. I'm vegan. Yeah,
right.
It's hard to get around the ghee in India. Because one time, like me and...
Yeah. Oh, you can't get around ghee.
Me and Ian Gryzik, friend of mine.
From Canada.
From Canada, by the way.
Yellowknife.
Toronto, I believe. I've been to Toronto.
He was working in the Yukon. He was working
not from there?
No.
Oh, I completely.
But I actually did a month with Ian up in Yukon in Whitehorse. It's incredible. Oh my god.
The two of you did a lot of Vipassana, didn't you?
We did a lot of Vipassana. Ian more than me. He was doing 55-day courses and 60-day courses.
60-day courses.
You should do that.
60 days.
The most I did is a 20-day course. I did a 20-day.
But 60 days would really make a big impact on you, Shane.
No. Richard Freeman said, you could do 60-day Vipassana, you could do long meditation, you could read all this Sanskrit mantras like I have done. But if you could just meditate for 5 minutes and just get dialed in.
Yeah. That's good. Enough.
So Richard Freeman.
Okay. That's good advice.
That's from Richard. Yeah. Okay. So met Richard Freeman in LA. I was 23 after all the celebrities left his workshop, got turned on, ended up moving back to Boulder. And I spent more than 10 years with Richard and Mary and Sangha there. Then I was doing daily practice pretty much immediately in LA to de-stress. And I've been doing daily practice Mysore for 22 years. And basically, eventually I got scholarship recipient at Richard Freeman's training, doing cadavers, permanence, working anatomy. Yeah, and then I did like 4 or 5 sitting in on him, and it was great. It was a great period of my life, and I was kind of doing winters in India and summers in Boulder, and eventually on the circuit teaching Boulder. I got in there for a hot minute. I wouldn't have a regular class, but I sub classes at Richard Freeman's yoga workshop, which is a huge honor, and I love the Sangha there. And then eventually I've been out living in a yoga ashram in San Francisco, and I teach a Mysore program here every Sunday from 9 to 11. Fairly new starting it, but I had 5 people here last Sunday, which is great. And also the tech company, have you heard of Asana? I think it's called Asana.
Oh, That asana,
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce it. I say asana, and I probably
They say
mispronounce it.
asana probably.
But I kind of like am running their yoga program there now, which is great.
Good.
That's a great gig.
Yes, it is. And my supervisor, Karen. Hi, Karen.
Hi,
she's
Karen.
also a marathon runner, and she is actually she's a personal trainer for a long time, ultra marathon runner, and she started Mysore with me there, which is great. And
that's good.
It's very diverse. People from all over the world there. People from like Japan and China and Turkey and all over. So highly diverse. And I'm also at Avalon Mission Bay. That's a residential program near the Giants Stadium. I teach like a lead class there.
The San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, San Francisco Giants.
Yeah.
Yes. But anyway, the Mysore program there is open to people downtown. All information on my website, 8limbsyoga.com. That has information on where I teach in San Francisco. I'm also offering privates at the ashram. We have 900 square feet.
What's the ashram called?
Yes, the ashram is called Yoga Society of San Francisco. And we're kind of like a secret society because some people in the neighborhood, in the mission, don't even know we exist. We've been in the mission for 50 years. We own the building, this big Victorian, very people from all over the world. We have like, we had 2 people from like India and Nepal, people like, I live here. I'm trying to think where else. Someone from New Orleans, where you live, Russell.
Oh yeah, just New Orleans. Yeah.
We have someone from New York. She's my Sangha sister, Rose. She's been at yoga and Sanskrit more than I'm alive. Master gardener. She once grew 14 heirloom tomatoes. Shout out to her. I'm really close.
14 tomatoes.
14 heirloom tomatoes. 14 heirloom.
14 of them. And I just want to say that I know I've made a lot of quips during the interview, and I've been jokey, but I just want to say I do know that you are extremely passionate about the study and practice of yoga and as it is a lifestyle. And it's very important to you to transmit your knowledge to other students and to make yoga as broadly practiced as possible. And I want to applaud you for that.
Thank you, Russell. I really appreciate that. And you really inspired me reading you in Mysore. I was like really stiff when I started. Mysore is like so intense, like going there with like, everyone was there, like Patabi Joyce and Sharat and his wife and Manju and Saraswati and the whole family ride. And meeting you and Noah Williams and just, especially you, Russell, because you were like, I was stiffer than you. And like, I don't know, my body is really open and changed over time. And I'm still like, today's a new day. And it's not like, yoga is not about putting your head up your ass. It's more than that. I mean, strength and flexibility is a byproduct of the practice, period.
Yeah.
Period.
But, okay, so what's the most important yoga practice, you would say? I mean, your website's called 8
Everything. Ashtanga Vinyasa. I do homa. I lead fire ceremony with Sanskrit mantras. Do you know the Om Trambakam? We do prayers for healing. It's very huge. We do meditation, the Gayatri mantra, Twameva Mata. And I know these mantras, I could do it live, but you could check it on Zoom on our website, Yoga Society, .com. Anyway, the links are on 8limbsyoga.com to Yoga Society. I think it's YS Yoga Society, sanfrancisco.com.
And just before we go, I was curious because you spent how many trips did you go to India?
9 trips to India, over 3 years in India. Went all over India. Usually I meet someone from India, like where I teach at Avalon. I meet people from India all the time. Like, where are you from? They're like, oh, I'm from India. I'm like, where in India? From South India. Where in South India? Here, where in there? I'm there. Oh, I've been there. So I've kind of, but basically, I met Ralph Nailkat, and back to, his study. I was 5 winners with Ralph and Marcy.
Ralph passed away recently.
Living in a village, and Ian was my. I don't need to pull up his spot, but he's kind of he's in my memoir 2 and 3, and
nice.
Well, it's unfortunate, Ralph.
You're actually in the memoir too, Russell.
Oh, I would love to read that if you had the passage handy, especially. But it's just really a shame.
I changed your name, but I think you could recognize.
You changed my name.
Yes, I did.
Well, he changes the names for confidentiality purposes.
Oh,
you're kind of a big name teacher now, or
I'm kind of a big deal. becoming a better painter every day. We just have about 2 minutes left. Would you read a passage from your book? I think the
Yes, let me
listeners
read
would love
very short of each. Okay. This is from volume 1. India is about extremes and patience. Wait an hour to use the internet and do one email. Wait an hour online for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with couple hundred or couple thousand hungry yogins. Wait several hours online for Amma to give darshan. This is when I was at 5 weeks at Amma, the Hugging Saints in Kerala. I was 5 weeks at her ashram. Blessing. Wait another couple hours for Amma to appear or not appear for a talk or led meditation. Ritual. I begin each morning at around 6 or 7 a.m. I sleep on a cot on the floor. I take cold showers. Again, this is a place for practice, not a vacation for wine and woman. My roommate is a serious yogin and guru buster from Los Angeles. I lived in LA for a year and met my teacher, Richard Freeman, in Los Angeles. LA is city of glitz, but under the glitz is the undercurrent of hellish realm. My roommate is a serious yogin. He did over 8 hours meditation yesterday and is preparing to do a Shiva, Vishnu, and Divine Mother tour over the next year or so. He will do this sadhu style with little possessions. I have had roommates in the past, and he is respectful of the space as am I. He's usually doing advanced breath work, chanting mantras, meditating, and so forth around 6 or 7 in the morning. I, with 50-cent yoga pants or 75-cent eccentric blue and pink flower baggy yoga pants, start off with breath work, then chanting out loud with my root chakra to invocation to Patanjali, to sun salutations, standing series, meditation, learn to your corpse pose, and more chants. If you took a middle American Walmart, McDonald's suburban man, threw out his television and placed him in our room, he would have culture shock. It is nice to be with a yogin who understands my path. I know Ashtanga Yoga teacher friends from Texas who were arrested in Houston for doing yoga. Oh, that's the Swenson brothers.
Oh, yeah.
The people
don't use their names.
Oh, I didn't.
Oh, okay, good.
They're famous,
okay,
though.
good.
They're famous. I actually changed their names, but
okay. Don't want to narc out.
They use famous names, though.
Okay.
Swenson brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But yeah, he tells that in workshops. I did a workshop.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you.
Okay, so that's one. I'm just gonna read just a little bit.
Read from the other one. Yeah, read from the other one.
Okay,
yeah, please.
Okay, so this is volume 2.
I mentioned in the second one.
Maybe our podcast will be mentioned in the memoirs.
It's too early on in the journey.
January 13th, 2007, 8:13 p.m. Today is my brother's birthday. I just went to a talk at the Ramakrishna ashram with my friend Audrey. There was an older crowd there, and it was a little bit difficult to understand the Swami, but I thoroughly enjoyed the topic. Going inside can be selfish, but to probe who am I, like Ramana Maharshi, and learn self-love isn't selfish. In fact, it is necessary. Going out to socialize and mingle to pass the time can be better utilized by being selfless and helpful. I brought some crackers. The ingredients were probably better to turn a blind eye to. You know those crackers in India, right? Partly, anyway.
Oh,
but they read as follows: milk, wheat, partially hydrogenated oil. Being schooled at the university in Europa and hanging out in Boulder, I know hydrogenated oils are bad, but what to do? This is India and I need the calories. Ignorance is bliss, my mom, Judy, likes to say. I had a great fulfilling days with my cousin Beth and her nephew Joshua, who came all the way here from New York City to Mysore. I'm sad that they left. Beth is so generous and so is Joshua. He is quite the temper, though. I saw a woman whose face was covered in huge, big swells and didn't look human. That freaked me out, to say the least. I believe Buddhist shamatha is calming, but feel Amma's meditations are more suitable for God realization, higher than self-realization. Similarly, my low back is fine, still exploring the best diet for me, still contemplating, do I want to be a family man, have a family, do 7 series like Russell and Harmony?
Yeah.
Or do I want to be
single?
Dharma, Shavite, Seeker, Ayurvedic, Yogan, nomad with occasional fling, like Scotty does in some ways with Buddhism. I am truly blessed to be here doing what I'm doing. George Harrison would have been proud. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Shiva Shambho. And then the last one from volume 3, this excerpt, this is kind of wild. This is quoting some Richard Freeman, Gita Govinda here.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think, this is kind of poetic. January 26, 2019. I am 30 in Mapsa, India, after special thali and lime soda. Saturn return ends on the black moon, aka new moon, as Rolf calls it. No practice on Monday, Shiva's day, and all is auspicious. India's Independence Day, my Independence Day. Childhood is over. February 20th, 2009, Goa, Arpora. Scooter had trouble starting this morning, but eventually did. Then it stalled near Kalingut. A taxi pulled up. An Indian transvestite sat in the passenger seat and window rolled down. She asked me, "Do you want sex?" and made a gesture with hand. Over 2 months celibate, still retaining seed, but had a fling. That was a no fling with Sue, who is a ghost now. She's gone. I hope this is not too juicy.
It's exciting.
Okay. Practice was good. Practice was good with Rolf and Marcy. Jump backs in Padmasana. I hurt my hip, then I hurt my knee. Got help with someone washed my scooter and told me 3 leaves. The ball leaves are offered during Shivaratri and showed me how the coconut top has 3 eyes for Shiva. It's hot. Time for Hanuman Chalis, sit meditation, eat, and sleep. Sleep doesn't come easy for sextet. I don't know what the word sextet means. What does that word mean? 6. We're a sextet, 6 canines were singing doggy hymns like a choir at 4:30 this morning.
Oh, a sextet dogs.
Winds from sandalwood mountains blow now toward Himalayan peaks, longing to plunge into the snows after weeks of withering and the hot bellies of ground snakes. Lotus voices of cuckoos raise their joyful sound after they spy the birds on the tips of smooth mango branches, crying sounds of cuckoos, mating on mango shoots, shaking as bees seek honey. Scenes of opening buds raise fever in the ears of lonely travelers. Somehow they survive these days by tasting the mood of lovers' union in climaxing moments of meditation. That's from the Gita Govinda that Richard Freeman turned me on to.
Did Richard ever share that book by Swami Aganahanda with you?
Nanda Bharati is my favorite book of all time. I read that book. Right?
It's the best fucking book of all time.
What is it? Nata Bharati?
His name is Swami Bharati, Swami Aganahanda Bharati. And his discussion about yoga and LSD and sex is fucking mind-blowing. And that's what Richard said to me. Richard said, "This will blow your mind."
We have that book. I started reading it.
It's really good.
That's Light at the Center. Light at the Center.
Light at the Center.
And then Oker Prabhu's about his journey. No, I read both books, and I'm like, Richard, this is like fucking amazing. This took me like forever to read. He's a linguist. He knew 12 languages. I'm like, Richard, why don't other people read these books?
Why don't people know about Swami Bharati?
You know what Richard said to me? When I asked him that, why don't other people read these books? You know what he said?
No.
He said, people want roses without thorns. People want bees without stingers. They don't want to work. That's what he said. They don't want to work. Like to pick up one of Bharati's books.
Yeah.
Like I had a friend, I won't say his name. He was a medical doctor, Mysore, like 3rd series, Ashtangi, whatever. I turned him on to Ochre Robe. It took him a long time to read. And he said he was like a medical doctor and he could normally read a book like that fast. But he said because there's so many languages that he was quoting. Like he wanted to get the context of the language and this. So he said it took him much longer. It's a hard read.
Yeah, you have to go slow with the philosophy. Like deep philosophy, you have to slow it down. And when you read it slow, and then you have to stop and pause, and then you have to think about it and let it
digest.
And then
to get just this podcast harmony, right, Russell?
Yes, people should also listen and then slow down and then digest. Yeah.
So if there's anything that I would leave with our listeners is that it's so clear that Swami Bharati has made a massive impact on Shane and really identified very strongly with him. And I think the readers at home should read The Light at the Center. It's a beautiful book. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing the Shane Scaglione experience.
I feel like there's like about 500 other stories we could have heard that
maybe another podcast sometime, maybe down the line.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane.
Thank you, Shane.
It's a pleasure.
Pranam. Dhanyawadaha.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
That was just so amazing. What a fun conversation. I learned so much, and I hope you did too. If you would love to go deeper and take your practice off your yoga mat and into your life, into the world, starting to learn more about pranayama, developing a regular practice, chanting, tuning into the vibrations and the Sanskrit mantras, as well as looking at some of the more esoteric philosophical concepts, come on in to my Inner Circle mentorship. This is a private community that's online. I offer weekly Mysore classes in addition to these monthly workshops and special programs. And you can find out all the information when you join the Finding Harmony community. Head on over to community-harmonyslater.com. Join the community and come on into my Inner Circle mentorship. I would love for you to be a part of this beautiful space and start growing into the full richness of this yoga practice together with me. That's it. We've concluded another episode of the Finding Harmony podcast. I just want to thank you so much for doing the work that changes the world, starting with yourself. It truly does make a huge difference. Please make sure you have your automatic downloads turned on wherever you listen so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. I have so much more magic I can't wait to share with you. Lastly, if you're on Instagram, I love connecting and hearing from you. So come on over and say hello at Finding Harmony Podcast. And you can also come say hello to me personally at Harmony Slater Official. Thank you again for being here. I cannot wait to share more with you in our next episode.